Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be watching a movie titled The Blind Side from the year 2009. So let's get started, turn on the subtitles, and spoilers ahead. Michael is the son of a single mom who's a cocaine addict. He has no parent that he can look up to or depend on, so he sleeps on his friend's couch and pretty much lived on his own. His friend Steven's dad is driving them to a school where he wants to admit them. Steven's dad talks to the school's coach, Bert Cotton, on admitting his son and Michael on a sports scholarship. Coach Cotton is mesmerized to see how talented Michael is. When the school board is discussing the possibility of admitting Michael and Steven, they're concerned that Michael isn't good for the school as he has a low IQ and has an average grade score of 0.6. Due to the lack of records, they don't even know how old Michael really is. But Coach Cotton argues against the school board and argues them to give Michael a chance in his life. His plea works and Michael gets admitted to the Wingate Christian School. In his first class, the teacher announces a test based on what they learned last year. But Michael doesn't even answer a single question and draws a boat on the answer sheet. Steven's mom and dad have an argument over Michael staying at their house every night. So Michael starts sleeping in the school gym. For food, he collects leftover popcorn from the school volleyball game. Due to his size and lack of social skills, Michael fails to make any friends in class. One night when he's walking to the school gym to sleep in, his classmate's family sees him and asks him where he's going. Michael replies that he's going to the school gym. Sean drives away from there, but Anne tells him to stop the car. She approaches Michael and asks him why he's going to the gym late at night. She realizes that Michael has nowhere to go and sleep, so she invites him to get in their car and takes him to their house. Michael's classmate, Collins, is surprised to see him in her house. Anne fixes Michael a bed on their couch and tells him to call her if he needs anything. Michael sits on the couch and looks around as he's never been in such a nice house. Next morning, Anne wakes up expecting the worst, that Michael might have stolen valuable items from their house. But to her surprise, Michael has already fixed the couch and was on his way out. Anne calls him back and invites him to stay for Thanksgiving lunch. Michael is shocked to see the amount of food that's available, and seeing how Michael is sitting alone to have lunch, Anne makes her entire family sit at the dining table and have lunch together, like a family. For Michael, it's his first ever Thanksgiving lunch, and Anne's good deed doesn't end there. She takes Michael out for shopping, buys him new clothes, and even drops him off to school with the rest of her children. She knows that Michael is a good kid and wants to help him any way she can, so she asks Michael if he'd like to stay with them. Michael replies that he has nowhere else to go, so Anne gives him a room of his own. Michael cannot believe the generosity of Anne towards him, as he's never had a bed to himself. Meanwhile, the teachers are not happy at all with Michael's performance. They believe that Michael can't be taught, as he doesn't even pay attention to what they're saying in class. But Miss Boswell begs to differ. She believes that Michael can be taught, as she reads them a poem which Michael wrote and threw in the trash can. Through this poem, the teachers feel that Michael is talented and they just need to pay extra attention to him. With this, the teachers begin to teach Michael outside of the classroom, and slowly his grades start to improve a bit. One night, the whole family is out to have dinner. After dinner, Michael goes back to the restaurant to meet someone. Anne and her husband curiously look to find Michael going up to meet a waiter and hug him. Later, Anne asks Michael who that person was, and Michael replies that it was his brother, who he hasn't met in years. From this, Anne finds out that Michael's whole life has been a struggle. Slowly, everyone has started to take Michael as a part of their family. They even have him join them in the family photo, which is going to be on their Christmas card. At a friend's get-together, all of Anne's friends have found out about Anne giving shelter to Michael. They praise Anne for her kind heart, but they also question Anne if she made the right choice, given how she has a young daughter in her house. Anne has never thought of this before. She's always thought of Michael and her daughter to be brother and sister. So to see her friends question something like that, she feels disgusted and leaves. Anne goes home and asks her daughter if she's ever felt uncomfortable having Michael live with them. Anne says that if that's the case, she will make some arrangements for Michael. Collins replies that she doesn't have a problem with Michael living with them, but she's worried about how her friends feel about it. However, Collins also slowly starts to get more comfortable to be seen with Michael and starts to hang out with him at school. With improvement in school grades, Michael gets to join the school football team, and given how tall and big he is, Coach Bert and Sean are really optimistic of what Michael can do on the football field. But since Michael has never played football before, Coach Bert has a really tough time making him understand the rules of the game. Sean and Anne ask Coach Bert to be patient with Michael, and eventually he'll get better. Since Anne's son SJ is a football fan, he helps Michael through the rulebook and also motivates him to train hard during the summer break. A few days later, while trying to help Michael get a driver's license, Anne finds out that he has no legal documents which proves his identity. So she decides to adopt him as her own child. Sean obviously gets surprised to hear this, but he gives her full support on whatever she wants to do with Michael. She goes to apply and becomes Michael's legal guardian, and then she finds out that Michael was separated from his mother when he was only 7 years old. His mother was a drug addict, and so the state separated them. And more than that, Anne is shocked that she can adopt Michael without even taking his mother's consent. Anne wants to take Michael as her legal son, but she simply cannot do so without asking for Michael's mother's consent. So she goes to find Michael's mother and gets her address. Upon visiting her, Anne finds out that Michael's mother has been living a very rough life. She also finds out that ever since they were separated, Michael would run away from his foster home and come looking for his mother. Michael's mother cries after knowing a good person like Anne was offering to take care of her son. Convinced that Michael was going to be in good hands, she gives Anne Michael's last name, which will help get adoption documents prepared. With everything ready, Sean and Anne tell Michael that they're willing to become his legal parents. Everyone in the family is happy to hear this news. Michael finally gets an ID with his name, and to celebrate this occasion, Michael gets surprised with a brand new truck. Michael has everything now, a family and a truck. One day, Michael is driving with SJ and they get into an accident. Anne gets the call and visits the site to see that SJ did not have any major injuries, even though he was in the front seat. The police officer explains that he was very lucky to survive the crash, and the blood on his shirt isn't his. Michael had actually protected SJ when the car crashed. That's why SJ escaped with minimal injuries, while Michael took the whole impact on himself. Back to the football training. Coach Bird is still not happy with Michael's performance. With the strength he has, Michael should really be protecting the other players, but he shows a lack of aggressiveness on the field. So Anne steps in to help, knowing that Michael has spectacular protective instincts when people he cares about are in danger. She asks Michael to think of his teammates as his own family members and to protect them at all costs. She also advises Coach Burt to try and earn Michael's trust. Turns out Anne's instructions really helped Michael to improve his game. By thinking of his teammates as his own family members, Michael is now protecting them and helping them win games. On game night, Michael's school is up against another school from town. An opponent player starts to taunt Michael and calls him all kinds of names. The opposing player's father isn't much different as he keeps shouting at Michael from the audience stand. The game begins and Michael isn't performing how he did back in training. The opposing player gets touchdown after touchdown and Michael simply can't influence the game to be in his team's favor. The taunting continues and Michael is still underperforming, causing his parents and coach to panic. Anne can no longer hear any more insults to Michael and tells the opposing player's overproud father to shut up. The play continues, and when Coach Burt steps up to defend Michael against the referee's decision, Michael gets motivated to play hard for his team. The play restarts, and this time, Michael grabs the rude opposing player and takes him for a ride. He completely takes hold of him and doesn't let go. While SJ is recording the entire play, Michael's team gets a touchdown and Michael sends the opposing player out of the field. With that, Anne proudly tells the rude man that Michael is her son, and Collins, who's on the cheerleading team, also gets happy to see Michael help out the team. He completely controls the game to the point that the opposing player, who was really rude to Michael a while ago, wants to get substituted. But in all this, Michael still has a sporting spirit and respects the opposing team's players. With Michael so much focused on the game, he helps his team overcome a great scoring difference and win the game. The next day, SJ burns the recorded footage of the game onto a CD and then sends it to different college football teams. Everyone who watches the clip of Michael's play is mesmerized by how strong Michael is. They all want Michael to play for their team. And one day, they all come and visit Michael's school to see him train. After Michael successfully demonstrates how strong he is, all the college football team coaches begin to make calls for him. Michael gets many offers from colleges to play for their team, but the problem is that Michael's grades aren't that good. He's improved a lot from before, but Michael still needs to score higher. Anne knows that if Michael gets a good score, he will get admission to a good college where he can play football and later get a chance to play professionally. So she hires a private tutor to help Michael improve his scores. Miss Sue turns out to be a really good teacher, as she's extremely patient with Michael. She motivates him by saying that he can do anything as long as he puts his mind to it. Meanwhile, as Michael continues to perform great on the football field, he starts to get visits from many university representatives who want Michael to join them and their football team. They all try to persuade Michael, who starts to get overwhelmed by all the offers he has in his hands. His grades, on the other hand, improve significantly, with the teachers and his parents supporting him at all times. Michael finally graduates, which means he can go to college and play university-level football. With so many picks ahead of him, Michael chooses to go to Ole Miss because it's the university where Sean played basketball and Ann was a cheerleader. So far, everything's going great, but one day, Michael is called for some questioning by the NCAA. Michael gets asked why he chose Ole Miss over the other universities. The NCAA is concerned Ann and Sean adopted Michael after seeing how talented he was in football. They believe that Ann gave Michael food, shelter, and love of a family so she could persuade him into joining Ole Miss, the university she went to and the team she supports. The NCAA is concerned that Michael joining Ole Miss will make more rich families adopt talented young athletes just to get them to play for their favorite team. Hearing all of this, Michael starts to panic. He's confused and questions if he was really adopted by Ann and her family so they could benefit from him. He has an argument with Ann and goes out of contact with her. While Sean and Ann are worried, Michael goes to meet his old friends from the neighborhood. They make fun of Michael for graduating and dreaming of playing football. One person specifically tells Michael to give up on that dream and join him in his gang. Michael doesn't reply to it, but then he starts to talk about Ann and her family. Michael gets asked if he ever got to sleep with Collins inside the house. Michael thinks of her as his sister, so he feels insulted and gets up to leave. But then the insults don't stop and Michael finally loses his cool. He attacks everyone in the room and beats them for insulting his family. The next day, Ann finds Michael and starts talking to him. Ann tells Michael that she didn't adopt him just because she could get him to play for her favorite team. She did it because she felt like it. She tells Michael that he is his own person and he gets to decide wherever he wants to go. She won't have any problem if Michael decides to go to a rival team which she hates. She just wants Michael to be happy and she'll support him no matter what. From this conversation, Michael gets assured that he isn't being used. He tells the NCAA going to Ole Miss is his decision and he wants to go there because it's the university where his parents went to. With that, Michael joins Ole Miss. A teenager who many believe to not have any chance at life now gets to go to the university and make up his own career. All thanks to the people he had in his life, and most importantly, due to his mother Ann. Michael began playing professional football after getting picked by the Baltimore Ravens in the 2009 NFL Draft, and his whole family was there to celebrate the moment. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more movie recaps.